Yo, what is up, guys? I'm bringing you a brand new video, and welcome to my Succession Berserker large-scale PvP guide. In this guide, I'm going to take you through everything you need to know to be either an AP monkey that gets kills, or a hybrid slash DP monkey that just does more of that supportive role on the class. And I'm going to go through all the add-ons and everything that you need to see in order to really make the best of your large-scale experience on the class. I'm going to section this video into different sections, and then we're going to bring it all together in the end to show you kind of everything that you should be doing. And we're going to start off with just simply your add-ons. So these are the add-ons that I use as more of a high amount of kill build. If you're trying to get a lot of kills, I typically recommend something like this. Additionally, this is something I use in capped and uncapped. If you are going for more of that tankier, DP-oriented role, you could also choose to have your all damage reduction on your predatory hunt, but it's not that big of a deal. You know, you are doing Fearsome Tyrant very soon after that, typically in a large scale engage, so you can just maintain these add-ons even for a more defensive build, but obviously you would want some HP regeneration if you're purely defensive, of course. Something else as well is your pre-buffing. So when you are pre-buffing to get ready to engage, I highly recommend that you maintain your beast form using only 3 out of your 5 abilities. Wrath of Beast, Beast Roar, and your Unstoppable Beast are what we would like to deter, like what I basically think of as useless skills. Their only use is to put you into beast form. If you try to use Shift Q or Predatory Hunt before an engage, they might be on cooldown by the time that engage happens, which you don't want to do that. So use your primary like useless skills first to get your beast form. These two are really good for regrouping because they're SA. So if you're just sitting here, you can't accidentally just get blown up by a diver, for example. And it's also going to let you just get some nice shy buffs without being PVI framed before that engage. So that is one of your pre-buff as well. Another pre-buff is Shift F. Shift F gives you 30 DR, as well as SL and BRMB. That gives you 28 AP. Those are your main ones that matter. You will have small little pre-buffs here and there if you want to use like Windstorm to get movement speed as well. But that's something that is neither here nor there. I don't think too hard about it. Sometimes when I'm just using standard movement through like what we like to call the crab walk, which is WRMB F Shift D, you can then throw in an SRMB at the end. So you can go WRMB F Shift D SRMB, and that gives you movement. So I typically just do that out of habit. And I typically am doing movement like that all the time, where I'm just kind of getting that buff passively, but it's not something I think about very hard. The main ones that matter the most is definitely getting your beast form with your useless 3 abilities, Shift F, as well as SL and BRMB. Having these buffs up, very, very important, and typically going to give you your best possible results. Now, let's talk about your primary damaging abilities. The abilities which do the most damage on Succession Berserker is SF LMB into the final explosion, Shift Q, the beginning part. The second part does a small wave of damage, but not nearly as much. And then your Time to Rock, your Q ability, into your SC, as well as your LMB RMB ability. These are your main damage protection sources. There are abilities like, say, WC into LMB, which does very small amounts of damage, but it's something that you will use just due to cooldowns. But those abilities I mentioned before are your primary damage dealers. Your primary support that you're providing is also your SF. The Falling Rock and the Final Landing are both bounds. Shift Q is a massive stun in the first ability, and Ancient Wave is a knockdown. Additionally, you can use Shift F or knockbacks. Both of those abilities are knockback, and that is for the most part the main primary damage that you're providing. If you are primary CC that you're providing, if you are exceptionally tanky, you can also throw some ARMB LMBs out. This right here, despite being unprotected, is just an on cooldown knockdown. Every single one of these is a knockdown. So you can just go around and just wildly throw these out while all of your other abilities are on cooldown. And this is providing a lot of support in a pretty decent AoE size to just throw out knockdowns. Now, keep in mind, that is only if you are a pure DP meme and you're pretty much unable to die anyway. Throwing out some unprotected CCs are not the worst in the world. Additionally, you can throw those out when you're E-buffed as well, and it can be fully protected. So you can go ARMB into LMB for an iframe into an SA knockdown. And you can do that every single time your iframe is up. Otherwise, you can do that as much as you want with a small gap. So this is something else that you can do if you are a pure tank player, or if you are a non-tank player, you can iframe into that knockdown as well. But that's something to consider as a CC source. But your main ones are going to be your SF bound, stun, knockdown, and then just Shift F for knockbacks. And then you can also throw in RMBs for floats. But, you know, the Shift F and the RMB are frontal guard only, so they're a little bit harder to use. So now let's talk about the main engage that you're going to want to do as a Berserker. So if you are in the ball, you're getting yourself pre-buffed here, you're getting your DR up, you're getting your AP up. Let's say that that's the enemies right there. Something I might do is I'll do that crab walk up, I'll shift space, I will SF into the explosion, I'll shift Q one tick, I'll iframe to the side, I'll Q, I'll ancient wave, and then I will go in for a spin. So lava piercer spin. After that, your disengage is typically going to look like, depending on your health, you will go shift space again into WF in order to disengage as much as you possibly can. Or after that whole sequence of events, you might just throw out some more SA. So you might go in, do your main combo, you do your shift Q, iframe, Q, ancient wave, spin, and let's say your health is really good and there's still people around you. You can then go into devastation, into LMB, and you can iframe out, and you can just disengage that way. That's a very, very common thing that I will do. Additionally, if you are winning that fight really hard, you can also engage further into the ball and start throwing out some wild things. So wild things would be your Shift F for some knockbacks into like an RMB in order to get that secondary CC, or just giving it a couple seconds for your predatory hunt to be back. Whatever that may be, you tempo based on what's happening around you, whether you need to disengage because your health is low, or you need to re-engage because your health is so high and you're winning that you start to throw out frontal guard oriented abilities because you're out of SAs at that time. Another thing that is very common, and I would say like 70% of all engages. So you're going to get your pre-buff up, you're going to have your shy buffs, whatever. You're then going to go in, and we're going to do exactly what I just said. We're going to SF LMB, right? We're going to shift Q, right? We're going to iframe, we're going to Q, we're going to ancient wave, we're going to spin. At this point in time, I typically have no health. I then iframe to the side, I run away, then you E-buff, and you go back in. You predatory hunt again, you might do devastation, you might do LMB, you iframe, you Q, you ancient wave, you spin, right? And then you might go shift Q because it's off cooldown. You do this into LMB, and then you have your predatory hunt back. And then you predatory hunt, iframe, Q, lava piercer, and then spin again. Now, there will very likely be some shift Fs as well as some RMBs in there, because as somebody who will be shy buffed or potentially Z buffed, you're not going to be able to do those abilities in the clean of sequences you just saw. So keep that in mind. But notice how I'm just sort of rotating through the primary damage dealers without really going into other abilities. Like your main abilities are just that predatory hunt, that shift Q, that ancient wave, that spin, your devastation. Now, once all these abilities are on cooldown, you're kind of just lost for a little while. You don't really know what's going on. You're just kind of throwing out some stuff, and then it starts to come back, right? And when it comes back, you then just start rotating through whatever's coming off of cooldown from those same pools of abilities, right? Now, once again, you're lost. So you throw some random stuff out, and then, okay, wow, your predatory hunt is back. Your devastation is back, right? And then all of a sudden your time to rock is back, your ancient wave is back, your spin is back, right? So there will be those awkward moments where you've sort of run out of those primary super armors, but you just kind of fill those with shift Fs or RMBs, or you take that time to disengage in order to just pop that E buff, right? Like you're going to use it to disengage in that time, maybe find a shy buff if you can, or if that's not really possible, then you just use your acetal belt if you're in a capped war, right? Like there's those small moments when you don't have your SAs where you either are forced to use frontal guards, you disengage to get a little health to wait, and then you go back in. But that's the primary stuff that you're going to be doing. Now let's talk a little bit about positioning. If you are massively stronger than your enemy guild, I typically like to just jump straight into the very, very center of the ball. That's something that is so common. Like, let's say that this entire area is like the main ball. I will jump directly into the center, and I will do my best to just dish out damage, because your guild's going to be confident. They're going to roll right over this guild anyway, and typically you're going to go in, take a little bit of damage, but by the time your guild follows up, you're going to be in the sequence of your spin, which is a large portion of your damage, and that's how you're going to maximize your kill count. Additionally, if you are fighting a guild that is massively stronger than you, well, you're going to want to be a little bit more strategic. If you're going for an off-render engage, I typically will do a hyper engage. And so what that means is, let's say that my guild is about to say, okay, this guild is out of render range and we're about to off-render push them. Naturally, what a lot of people do is they will still jump into that front line. But what I like to do is I like to jump into the very, very back line. So what that means is you Lava Piercer, you WF, you Lava Piercer again, and then you Predatory Hunt to get as far into the back line as possible. You might even do more than that. You might even start off by going Lava Piercer, iframe, Lava Piercer, iframe, Lava Piercer. Like, you might go super engage, right, to get to the very, very back line, to then execute a large shift Q on all their rangers and their rat classes. This isn't actually to get kills, necessarily, right? You may not actually get kills by doing this, but what you're trying to do is you're trying to disrupt their backline so that it gives your guild time to catch up and actually catch them off guard. So let's show in a realistic example of what that might look like. So we're going to assume that these guys are standing just here, right between these two trees. That's where the ball is. And let's say that we are going to now do an off-render engage. That's what my shock collar is called for. What I'm going to do is I'm going to Lava Piercer, WF, Lava Piercer, Lava Piercer, Lava Piercer, Predatory Hunt to the back line. I'm then going to Shift Q. I'm going to iframe, Q, Ancient Wave, and spin. Now, this is where the kills might happen if you're getting somebody, like getting the rangers. Otherwise, you're disengaging to the outskirts. You're waiting to watch what's going on. You Lava Piercer, Predatory Hunt in, and then just kind of do the same sort of a thing that you did, except Shift Q comes last at this point if that fight is going well. So that's what I would consider to be a like hyper engage in an off-render engage. Now, keep in mind something... Berserker's Prime Lava Piercer. So we have two Lava Piercers. We got the red Lava Piercer and the blue one. The blue one is your Prime Lava Piercer. That can be reset by iframing or using iframe on cooldown. So if you do a Lava Piercer and you iframe, notice nothing really happens. But if you Prime Lava Piercer and iframe, it comes off cooldown again. So that's what allows me to do that kind of movement. I can Lava Piercer, iframe, 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 Lava Piercer. All right, like you can do this all the way till your stamina bar runs out, which is a pretty tough thing to do, right? So once you can go very, very far with this. That's what you're doing essentially with your hyper engage. Now let's talk about something that we have not yet talked about, which is your ultimate ability. Using an ulti is a very, very hard thing to do on Berserker as an AP build, but the best place to use it, in my opinion, is on the flank of the ball, or if you are doing it on the side of the ball. So once again, let's assume that you're in a team fight and the primary ball is kind of between these two trees. What I'm kind of looking for, if I'm fighting an exceptionally strong guild that's like way stronger than us, I'm typically going to use that ulti either here where I can sort of ripple, right? Because if I'm standing here, the ripples go into the middle of their ball. But I'm also not directly taking too much damage doing it. Additionally, if my ball is getting engaged upon, I don't want to use it in the front line because that's where all the damage is about to come out. So let's say I'm standing at the front of my ball and this ball is coming to engage us. Typically what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up a little bit into my back line, and then I'm going to use it in my back line. So any class that's coming in to try to do something may get caught by it. And you'd be surprised how much people go in for unprotected CCs in order to try to just go after a backline. And that typically helps me a lot. And more often than not, I like to use it offensively, which is typically going to be used on the flanks or the sides of each particular ball. That's normally the best place to use the ultimate because it did get nerfed and it doesn't have healing on it anymore. So you have to be very cognizant of like where it is that you're using that BSR, or else you're just going to die in it. Let's talk about when it is appropriate to grab in large scale. Grabbing in large scale is something that I probably attempt to do once or twice per node war, max. And I think that the only time that you attempt to grab is if you are, say, in your base and your team is repairing and someone's coming to dive, or if you are kind of at the remains of a fight and your teammate is on the ground and you're going to try to save him. But like you typically do not want to grab at the very, very beginning of a ball fight. You never grab in a ball fight. And I think that you don't even grab in a ball fight, even if you're a purely DP player, because the ball fight, it's like you are CCing yourself by casting a grab. When you cast a grab, you successfully grab somebody. You can't do anything, and they can't do anything. You are taking damage, they are taking damage. You actually don't really provide hardly anything at all by getting a grab. Unless you're like a pure DP player and you're grabbing one of their main fraggers, I think that your value is in your bounds, your stuns, your knockdowns, right? Your CCs can CC a lot more than one person, whereas your grab can only ever hope to maybe CC one. And it's just not really providing a lot of value for your team. So I don't recommend grabbing in those types of scenarios, but if you are just in the remains of a ball fight that you've won, if you are grouping up and somebody's coming to try and go for a bomb play, if you are in your guild, if you're in your base and someone's coming to try to disrupt CC for rebuilds, those types of scenarios when you are comfortably in a group of your teammates and one or two people are coming to disrupt, but not their whole ball. You never want to grab when there's more than like 10 enemies on your screen. There's always something better to do when you can see 10 enemies on your screen, essentially. That's pretty much it, I guess, for large-scale theory of what it is that I do. Something else that you probably are interested in is my crystal combinations. So let's go through and show you guys those. This right here is what I'm using in uncapped PvP. In uncapped PvP, I think that this is probably the meta right now for just fragging. You don't build any accuracy at all. If you wanted to build some accuracy, you prioritize hand accuracies. If you don't have hand accuracies, then you probably can use just 2 Jins with maybe a couple Elcars. Elcars are rather decently efficient. Something else that I use for more of smaller scale PvP, depending on if I am fighting an evasion class, would be something like this. This is sort of adding a little bit of extra DR, as well as a Hatates here, and like some couple hand accuracies. This is my Guild League setup. So this is my large scale, if I want to do damage to everybody build. This is if I am my standard large scale, if I really want to top frag. This is my standard Guild League / GVG build. And then if you want to go more of like a bruiser setup, you could do something like this, which is still decent damage, but you're also quite a bit tankier with like 1 or 2 Jin DRs. For Cap Node Wars, I tend to run this with these 2 slots being nothing because I put on 2 Tet Acetal belts and Acetal Necklace. I just have the jump height in here because I didn't know what else to put, but maybe in the comments you guys have something better, but I didn't, like, genuinely, I don't know what it is. But the idea here behind this is you have critical hit damage, you got attack speed, you got back attack damage, attack speed, you got some HP regen, special attack damage, a little bit of HP, right? That's kind of what you build for that. For Cap Siege, this build right here is subject to change for me. You know, I am prioritizing a little bit of extra attack speed in Cap Siege. However, I also think that it's totally appropriate for you to build more of an HP thing. So if you were to put in, say, Ultimate Hooms, I think that that would be a really, really solid alternative. Additionally, like, you could just try to go full as much HP as physically possible if you have some other HP source of some kind, like, you know, 100 HP from some Jin Kobe's or a little bit of HP from like Bond Kobe's, for example, instead of HP regen. That's totally something that you can do as well. I tend to go for more of the fragging route. Do I not have another Bond Kobelanus? I must have lost it, but you could put in a... All right, I already have it in here. That's why. So yeah, you could do something like this and then do like 1 absorption. This is something that's not a bad option. These extra back attacks also don't really provide a whole lot either. Like, there's something, but they're also kind of nothing. So you could go for the other absorption, and then what else could you possibly build? I guess just a little bit of HP, if you can. I mean, these have 50 HP, but like, yeah, you could put in like a red battlefield Kobe. Something like this. Honestly, I think that I might go with a build like this. You're missing out on a little bit of special attack, but you're providing a lot more sustain for yourself. I typically do rather well with just the extra special attack modifiers, but it is also a lot of HP loss, and the more HP you have, the longer you can stay in the fight, so it might actually result in you getting more kills by having a build like this. I'm probably going to test this build out. I know that most Zerkers run this build, but I typically tend to do pretty well with the previous build you saw. And then if you are going for like purely DP, like you were talking, you're going tank mode, then your DR tank build is typically going to look like this. You're going to put in your blue DRs. I only have bonds and a few Jins. And this is typically going to be it for you. You've got HP, you've got DR, you've got your DR and HP, you got DR, HP, little bit of HP, HP and DR, and then these Kydex Giants give you additional 2 DR and 100 HP each, so those are also pretty good. This is if you're going pure tank mode. This is the best in slot build that you can get. Kydex are actually hard to get your hands on. If you don't have Kydex, there's really not a lot of great alternatives. You might slot in another RBF Kobe and maybe like an absorption. If you even can, I don't think that you can. Or just like a little bit of HP somewhere, you know, like 50 HP on these. Like, it is, it's really tough if you don't have these Kydex. I don't even know what you would do, but the Kydex are pretty goated for the extra 4 DR. That's pretty much it for the crystal builds. In terms of the things that you wear in large scale for like Lightstones, I always run Iron Walls and the damage reduction artifacts. You can choose to run, say, like the all-out attack, or not all attack, but the wild human setup. But I use this so infrequently that I haven't even gone out of my way to upgrade these DR artifacts yet. I just think that they're not really worth it for what you're losing tankiness-wise. So I'm typically just avoiding that and just running DR Iron Walls completely. But that's basically it, guys. I hope that this was really helpful to you, and I hope that I haven't left anything out. If you have any additional questions, you can always hit me up on Discord, or you can also just leave a comment, and I'll be replying back to you guys for that. But I really appreciate y'all for watching. If you enjoyed and got some use out of this, make sure to drop a sub, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Peace.